We're recording. Here we go. Riding the power of the force. I love it. So we've got with us Dorothy, who's all the way on the west coast of the U.S., and me, who's in the U.K., and Julia, who's in the UK, Sophia, who's in Denmark, Britt is in. Are you still in Florida?
We'll just say Vermont. We'll just say the East Coast.
Okay.
I'm in South Carolina right in the moment.
From Vermont, and Kelly is from New York. Yeah, fantastic. So thrilled we're all here. So Dorothy and I want to put this thing together called Riding the Power of the Force. So this is our first free call to play with it. So I know that all of you have some experience with this. So how about if we just all line up first and feel that wave, that pulse, that the surf is up. And the force, the source of all life is just zooming through us all. You can feel that connection, that pulsing, thriving life force bursting through you. Bursting out into the world. And just to intend for the most wonderful outcomes for you, for all of us on the call, for anybody who's watching it, and for the world. Oh, and we'll throw the universe in there too today. Yeah. Okay. Woo, feels good. So we thought we might start by just having a chat about what do we mean by riding the power of the force, and maybe we could each all say what that means to us. For me, I would say, and you all mostly have heard this from me, but I'll just recap it for the video. I've gone from being a normal person to accessing my greater being and living my greater purpose to living as an infinite being here on planet Earth. And one of the things that I think has happened this year for me is not only am I feeling like I'm becoming the source of all life in my own unique, genius way, but I'm living it 100% practically by the moment, by the day now. So one of the things Dorothy and I really wanted to do is to make that, show people how that's so practical. It's not all very, very out there anymore. It's presenced and powerful and real and pulsing with newness and ideas and innovation and genius and all that good stuff. So that's for me how I would define what we're talking about. So Dorothy, how about you?
It's different every day. What I could say today is that I've eliminated normal. So even in my neurology, my brain's not looking for a repeat of yesterday. I've eliminated normal. And the result is that I'm completely liberated to ride this force, to benefit from everything new that's moving through for and as me all the time.
I love that. Do you do something particular when you get up in the morning to make that happen?
No. What I'm doing is noticing it. It's like there's no practice anymore. There's no normal. So any kind of trying to make a habit of something, I just feel free of all of that now. If there's a habit, it's I'm waking up like looking for what's magical, what next thing is going to move toward me or under me and move me. There is no practice and there's no normal and there is no routine. Nothing feels like yesterday.
It sounds like you wake up into eager, excited curiosity.
Oh, at the very least.
That is very cool. I love it. Well, I'm going to give that a shot. Okay, so how about the rest of you? Anybody else want to say what? Because I know you're all experiencing. So what is it for you riding the power force?
Similar to you, Dorothy, but I made myself a promise at the beginning of the year that never ever again would I fall out of what we are, and then I'm beginning. Stop it. I know now that it's magic. It's the magic. And when I open up to the magic, if I start looking at normal things and looking here and looking there, it doesn't work. But if I go vast and big and really open up, all the magic happens. And without wishing to bore you, for one, I'll give you one for instance. We had been told that our mortgage was coming to an end in April and we would find it very difficult to get another one. It would double in price. They wouldn't give it lots of down, you know. And I thought, no. And I looked big and creative magic and we went. And they've given us a mortgage just like that for 2 years and it's £200 less than what we were paying. Yeah. That's the magic. And what you're saying every day, Dorothy, is you get up and every day is different. I get up and every day is magic.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Anybody else?
Well, I can relate to much of what you're saying, and I can definitely feel the power of the force, but I'm sort of torn in two or maybe multiple pieces at the same time, because I've decided that I'm streaming pure infinity all the time, and if I drop out of it, I go back in, and I still do some practices on that, especially when stuff is happening around us. And yet I still feel that I'm not streaming that perfect body that I would want to have, because my body keeps locking and keeping me from expressing the power and keeping me from exploring the force. So I do a lot of great stuff, but it's not related to the force, like the force. I'm playing in my own infinity space and transforming that into great things or drawings or dance or music. But I feel like I can, swap the perception of this body thing and then go even bigger with the force as a companion too. So I love to explore that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like a force body.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I have that because my body has endured, lots of stuff throughout the years. But we're not aligned in that way where there's no back pain and no this and no that. So I want to align that too. Perfectly.
Okay, got it. You want to do that on this call later?
Let's see what pops up for everybody. Let's see what happens. But
Yay.
I'm willing to play.
Super. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Britt, how about for you?
Oh, well, I'm most connected when I am as nature, when I'm out in nature. And now it's been amazing. I remember this one point last, I think, late fall where I was out walking in nature, always needing to ground, right? Needing my feet on the earth. But there was this one epiphany where I said, well, it's really cold now and it's really hard to be shoeless here, but I can do it through my pores. So in the same way of like grounding as people think of earthing through their feet, I could then do it through all my pores, through my being. And now it's just getting easier and easier to be as nature herself, as that source, even from inside, whereas before I always needed that outside connection. And I, of course, still do, but it's just more and more of who I am naturally. I'm more in that. So
yeah, got it. Interesting. I see such a big shift in you from that point forward when you're being it as you now. It's amazing. You're like radiant. And there's much more power in all the things you're creating as well. Absolutely.
Britt, can you explain to me a little bit about the nature, no pun intended, your relationship with the earth? Like, what is your, like, I'm doing this, so it feels kind of collaborative, but can you give me some words around your relationship with the earth?
I'll do my best. Sophia might be able to explain it better. She sees it well. I mean, I think from the, the traditional, it's one of those things that's, when it's so natural to you and you don't even realize you do it or what you do in that sense. So it's having that awareness of it. But it's always been just feeling at home, from when I was little, like outside playing, exploring through the woods, romping, climbing trees. So this natural sense to now, what, of course, my normal human would say that sounds really presumptuous of having somebody explain about Mother Nature or Gaia. And I'm like, oh, they're talking about me. It's like, it's one and the same. So let's see, am I explaining? So it's this connection. I mean, I work as a photographer as well, and photography for me, it's always been like my third eye. I said in that sense, it helps me see in another way, and that's always when I've been most connected, is when I'm out photographing. I can lose track of time, full bladder, aching back, stand over a tripod, or just be there waiting for the light to shift, and just seeing this beauty and sacredness of nature, which I think also transfers into seeing that in other people as well. But it's just this connection with nature that's so strong, and then realizing, well, we're one and the same in a sense. So I don't know if that helps clarify it all, or
I'm fascinated by that. If I could take a minute, I am a visitor here on this planet. I love it. I think it's the best playground that we ever could have created. It's amazing. And I love it and I appreciate it, but I for sure feel like a guest here. I don't have that relationship you're describing. So it's fascinating to me. Like, I have goosebumps all over of what that must be like.
Well, I know what you're saying, because for years I was on these calls with Soleira and doing these things, and I felt like, well, where are my people? It's not here on Earth in the sense, but it's not way out here like everyone talks about. I don't connect that way. And even when we tune in, I know many people go way out. And for me, I always said, no, it's like I want to be down here with the fungus. There's worlds within worlds on the forest floor. And so I have to dance and imagine I am nature to connect in that same way.
Oh, that's amazing. I just went on a hike because of course now I've moved to a new place, so everything gets to be new, and I'm taking these hikes in places I've never been before and having mind-blowing experiences. But when I'm walking on the paths, the different paths in different places, it's really feels like it's the first time. Each path is different, and the pine needles on one and the leaves on another, and I feel childlike in my experience of it, like really like I've never been here before.
Yeah. Do you know what I love? Each one of us, I think, will have a relationship with the force from a different point of perspective, from a different unique orientation, from a whole different sense of how that embodies in you. So Britt as nature, me at the moment, I'm like the source of all life, sourcing a new world and universe. That's how I feel. So Dorothy, what's yours? What would you say? How does it come out of you?
I'm connected with others. So I know I'm connected with others. So when I'm in the presence of you and anyone, I'm quite aware that we are aspects of the same, that the only separation is the potential that's unique to each of us.
So, yeah, I love it. Sophia, Julia, or Callie too, you too, anybody else, what's yours? How does it embody or embed in you as your unique?
Well, Sophia talked about streaming, and you did a while ago, and I do streaming now. And I liken streaming to when I used to go bodyboarding, windsurfing. I don't know if any of you have ever done it. Have any of you ever caught a wave? Have you caught a wave, Britt? There's something unbelievably magical when you catch a wave. There's a force underneath you that is quite unparalleled to anything else, and that I can liken to streaming. And with you saying about the force, I can liken it to that, because it's just incredible. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's almost like, Julia, the whole time I've known you, it's like you are magic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes I think you've forgotten that in years past, but you really are the magic. And just like me embodying the source, and Brett embodying the whole of nature as a force, and more than that, and each of us doing that, if you embody and embed and become the whole of magic, that's different than Julia being magical. Do you see?
Yeah.
And I think what happens when you're riding the power of the force, that you become something. So it's not just, oh, we get on the surfboard and we surf the wave and we get the good vibes and the good energy, but it reshapes us and becomes something. And I wonder, Dorothy, if what you said is, I'm a collaborator and I become all that is needed for collaboration in any moment of connection.
Well, if I take it just one layer bigger, I know already that I am momentum. So my presence does move everything.
That's it.
The lens that I'm looking from is the connectedness of everything. I guess I already know that I am momentum. I am movement.
Oh, does that ever go ka-ching when you say it? It's like, and you can feel the power of it. Like, forget the words we're using. You can feel the power of each one of us claiming who we are as that. You know, Sophia, how about for you?
Yeah, I'll be claiming that I don't know. It just seems to be shifting again. Like, we've had a really rough February, and it's like tilted our world upside down. And in the aftermath of this, it was partly on the way, I think, since the beginning of January as well. But things are changing. I cannot say what I am up for or what I'm here for. But what you said about being a visitor, Dorothy, it really resonates. And I think I've discovered that it's been going on for a long time, you know. I don't have to learn how to live as a human being, but I just gotta be my infinite being here instead. And that's, of course, has been liberating, and I'm still exploring that. But now it seems like it can be anything. It's not like I can do anything, but I don't know which direction to go. And for the time being, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not looking anywhere. I'm sort of hibernating in my own space, and I go on calls with you guys, and I'm going to do some stuff with the Fleur too. And I love that. But besides that, the rest of the world, you gotta wait around. I'm here and I'm not here. And what you said about being momentum too, that resonates a lot. I just didn't think about it that way. And I gotta find a way to use that ability, because everything does change when I'm in the room compared to when I'm not. It's not like I'm special, but that infinity streaming just alters things. And sometimes I do it deliberately, and sometimes stuff just happens. But where I am at the moment, being me, being this, being what, and the rest of the world, like, we're not one thing yet. I can't explain it, but
well,
something's going on.
I have to respond to you a second here. First of all, you're way more than special. When you say you're nothing special, you are amazing special. Also, now that you're saying that, do you remember the first time we met was at Buckland Hall in Wales? number of years ago. And you and I were immediately resonant. And one of the first conversations we ever had was about eyesight and how we knew that eyesight was a malleable thing, not what we've been told it is. It's a malleable thing. And there have been many instances of resonance with us. So it could be a fun thing to pursue in another call. Also, I'm wondering about if streaming infinity is exactly what you are and what you're always doing. And there's nothing you have to, quote, do to be that. It is just, that's what you are. Whether you're sitting at home or you're not, that you're streaming infinity all the time anyway. It's just what you are.
And you know, for me, Sophie, you are pure consciousness. And pure consciousness is always morphing. It never, ever stays the same. And so if in a human experience, we're trying to, and I know none of us are, but you're trying to figure out who you are, you're trying to capture something today for what you're going to do. But pure consciousness wouldn't have that. You know, it's so morphable and fluid, and to me, that's who you embody.
And the same with streaming infinity, because each day we move that further. So we raise the bar or move the border every day. So that's always going to be different too.
Yeah.
I was saying streaming consciousness too, Sophia, that stream, you know, you are consciousness and the streaming infinity. And it does sound like it's morphing, but you know, you do such amazing work with the consciousness of other people, you know, and seeing that grander vision, you know, like you seeing me as nature.
Sophia, I've always experienced the only way I can say it is a great power coming from you, but that's not, I'm not sure how to verbalize that. But every time you speak and every time I see you, I feel a greatness. I can't think of another. Even my voice. If my voice sounds different as I'm saying it to you, because it's awesome. That's it. It's awesome. You are awesome. That's the one. That's the one.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much. That actually resonates so much. Like both the streaming infinity and being the pure consciousness morphing all the time. Of course, I cannot relate to one. Everything changes all the time. Yeah. I think I get that now. Thank you.
Yeah,
and also I said to Stuart, we went walking today, and I said to Stuart, you know, we've got to go out walking, but we've always got to go somewhere different. I said, I'm a yen to go different places. And for somebody who's not normally one to travel, as Soleira will know, I'm wanting to go and see things and do so, wanting different. So Dorothy, I can really relate to what you're saying about that. And I think it's also, sometimes it's not a question, it's not a question of going somewhere different. Oh, it's being different. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Julia, do you imagine that your partnering with the Force is resulting in that new experience? That this riding the wave of the Force that we're talking about might be the experience that you're having?
Yes. And I'm thinking about it as we're on this call. I'm thinking about it, and yes.
Because one of the things that's happened with Julia, because I know in detail kind of what's happened, is she was hanging on to having her home and not having to let it go, and hanging on to living nearby her family, and hanging on to a lifestyle that she has loved for years. And she woke up one day about 2 weeks ago and it was gone. She didn't need to do that anymore. She could let it go. And the moment she let it go, they got the mortgage on. She is now, because before she was constricting the ability to ride the power of the force and being the magic in the world. And once she let go of the constriction, everything comes. So yes, brilliant.
I've noticed a lot too for me in that power of surrendering after a lot of resistance has come up with certain things that I've known were right on the path, but I had my human resistance to it. And once I could acknowledge that and then, be with it and let it dissolve, it's been amazing, that power of surrendering to it, letting it all go.
Yeah.
And
it's a quantum collapse, because you think when you surrender that, you're out of control, but it's the exact opposite. Yeah. You surrender, you feel the power of the force, and wow, you can do anything you want because you now are the power rather than you are yourself trying to make things happen. It's a very different experience. I just want to check it. Kelly, I don't know whether you want to talk or type in. Where do you weigh in on this? Do you want to share anything? She's probably typing into the chat. I'll just give her a minute. Okay, there it is. Okay, got it. Yeah, she says she has very poor internet today. Okay, good. Major storm. Oh, major storm sounds like the power of the force coming to your area. I know it can be a little scary, but all of us, almost all of us. Oh, a foot of snow too. Wow, interesting. Wow, interesting.
Hey, New York. Oh, right. So yeah. I just moved from Philadelphia, Kelly, and my friends and family are under a foot of snow right now too. They got a foot yesterday.
Wow, interesting. We had it last week.
Oh, it's 55 degrees and sunny here.
That brings up the whole. This is one of the practical things. The whole concept of climate change and what's happening with the weather and all the storms and earthquakes and and I think when you're riding the power of the force, when you become that which you are meant to embody as the greater forces, and you become that, and you have this glorious relationship with the earth, with the forces of nature, the universal shaping of life, that when you do that, it's not like you can control the weather, because that's absolutely not what you would do from that place. But it's like you graciously dance with it in a way that you give it space to become gracious, even in its ferocity or its dumping of snow, or its there's if you can find the beauty and the grace in it, then you can ride the power of that even as the force. Now, I know there's people sitting in who experience earthquakes and hurricanes wouldn't say any of that. I completely get that. That's a scary thing. But at the same point, there's something about the way we be with it in consciousness, in ourselves as embodied forces, that helps, I think, to put grace in it for all. And that's one of the things that I think our group tends to love to do, is to put grace in things for all. So part of what we're talking about, like when I was saying about Julia and being that you are, Dorothy says she's momentum, Brit nature, me, so when you embody it, you become more than a person in a body with a field around you, or even a greater being or an infinite being streaming. You become the actuality, the realization of the forces in motion. And when you become that, it's funny because it takes you into a whole different experience and paradigm. It's not egotistical, neither is it humble. It's none of those things. it is pure momentum, I guess you could say, Dorothy. I use your term. You become the pure, gracious momentum of that which wants to fulfill itself through what's happening right now. And when you can do that, to me, that's where it gets really, really practical and exciting as you become that. So, there you go.
And when you talk about the momentum, Dorothy, it's not momentum backwards or forwards or up and down. It's like, ooh, the whole thing.
Yeah, it's all the movement. And for all of us, each one of us, if we stick with the weather for a minute, your relationship with the weather as you define it will determine your experience of it in the physical. So if your relationship with weather is all part of the physical experience, that there is no good, bad, wrong, right, it just is weather, then you're not going to feel resistance to whatever shows up called weather today.
Yeah.
Because it's all part of how you're defining your relationships.
Yeah, like, you know, Dorothy, like when you talk about momentum, I can see that you become the wave that uplifts everything to another level of its potential reality and possibilities.
And it as I be that, any resistance I have to a possible outcome will limit the possible movement.
Yeah. So
there's a I hate to use the word responsible because it feels there's a heaviness. It isn't heavy at all. It's actually a joyful feeling that I can see all that, therefore I can impact all of that. I get to say how big this relationship, this new relationship with this force is. I say how big it is. I say how much of it there is. And as soon as I have any resistance to any potential outcome, I limit the possibilities.
Yeah, I get that.
Because when you're catching a wave, it's futile to resist. You can't do it. It's just futile.
And the slight tweak to that is that I am the wave as well as the rider.
Yes. Yeah, it's a quantum collapse again. And you know, a simple example is when we moved to this little town, which I lived nearby 22 years ago, and my experience of this little town 22 years ago was a kind of sleepy hollow place. Not a lot of life. It was a little sad. So I wasn't even interested in living here. And then we moved here, and I just went, this is going to be a thriving, exciting place. Like, I can't wait to see what's going to show up in what I previously thought was a kind of sad place. So I go out to walk yesterday, and it was market day in Wells. And there's like 3 buskers on the street playing saxophones and violins, and people are actually dancing on the street. And there's all kinds of people going through the market. And we've discovered the Bishop's Palace, which has these glorious gardens. Julia was here, and we saw them. And I think, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. I was kind of hoping for a big shopping mall somewhere nearby. Instead, I got buskers. So it's that kind of thing, though. Our presence alters the fabric of all the reality, and not just in the town, but in the world as well. I truly believe that when we step to that level of ourselves, that who we be in our lives affects everything in the world to be able to be uplifted and live richer, gracious, more powerful, beautiful lives. So yeah, gorgeous. So it might be interesting to just come back to, Sophie was talking about the body. And one of the things that we've all been at work on in the last little while is embodying the forces, the force, you know, the whatever you want, the source, God, creator, force, you know, call it anything you want. So maybe we could just take a minute and all see where we are with the embodiment of that in ourselves, and then see that burst free from us into momentum and expression and power and beauty. Okay? Let's do it. Okay. Oh, beautiful. I became it myself, and then I began to work with you, Sophia, just for play, as you as pure consciousness. And it's like we were, I don't even know how to describe it, weaving a dance of how pure consciousness would show up in physical earth life. And it was really so beautiful. I don't know kind of what to say about it beyond that, but it was really so, so beautiful.
I love being in a body. It's so amazing to me being that the force that I am could be in this little body. It just amazes me. I love it more every day. And my agreement with it is that I am the caretaker. That I don't use it for anything it wasn't meant to be used for. And I decide what that means, just as each of us does. But I take care of it as its caretaker. I don't make it do anything that it wasn't designed to do. I do overload it with sugar on occasion, so maybe that's not 100% true. But I love being in a body. I think it's the craziest idea. Whenever we came up with it, it is the craziest idea. And I relish almost every moment of being in it. And I think that because of that, the longer I'm here in this lifetime, the more vibrant and stronger this body is getting. That has not stopped. It's still stronger and more vibrant than it's ever been. I love my body.
I really like being in a body too, I have to say. I love being on Earth. I think it's better than I say it that way. I love being on Earth.
I do too.
I think it's just the most extraordinary experience you could possibly ever have. And it's interesting because I write about and talk about otherworldly realities, you know, the kind of stuff we dream about. And yet sometimes I look around and I think, well, that's actually here. It depends on where you're looking or how you look somehow, you know, then how you relate to it. It's actually here. The other day, I think I mentioned this on our call earlier this week. I was doing something high vibe and I was dancing something. And I raised the frequency in myself and in the apartment we're in. And I raised it to such a level that I actually saw the room shift. It was like it went whoop, boom, like. And so on our call the other day, I think it was, I was like, yeah, I want it to be that all the time. I don't want to go up and down in that otherworldly reality. I want that to be my reality. I want to walk in the dream world, in the so euphorically, wondrously awesome that everything just shows up that way. The colors enhance and smells enrich and people show up just so brilliantly. And I want to walk as that world unfolding itself for the whole world. Anybody else? Yeah, go for it, Britt.
I don't know. My dance was like this exquisite flow, and then this feeling of like any of the bodily stuff. And I definitely have some. It's coming from when I'm not connected to that source that I am. And I had this then move to tears of like, just want to go out and lay in the pine needles and be the fern and be the tree, that sense. So anytime that I cut that off, in a sense that some of it is springing up.
Because nature is such an awesome force. It's a miraculous thing.
Yeah, you lose a limb, you just grow another.
Yeah, and the thought of you operating as the glorious force of nature, exhilarating life on this planet and beyond, just thrills me to no end. So even lying in the ferns isn't just you lying in the ferns, it's all of life boosting for all of us somehow. That's how I relate to it.
Yeah. But it was great to hear what you expressed too, Dorothy, because I definitely haven't always felt that way. I remember the time when I was turning 30 and laying on the floor in that sort of a depressed state and asking my mother, like, how do you be happy? I had every reason to be happy, but I fought this depression, this not connected to sourceness, of my true self and everything for so long, or trying to fit into the societal norms and social norms and the self-imposed norms and all of that, or trying not to and trying to, all of that. So to hear how much you relish, being in your body, it's a great reminder, because I'm not as conscious and aware. And, even though I'm an extreme caretaker with all that Virgo in the sense, and I know I don't buy into that, but that sense of, caretaking with what I consume. But yeah, so that's, anyway, it was good to hear. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful.
Sophia, did you get any kind of reverberation from anything yet?
I so love listening to you, because I have a completely different relationship to my body. I think I've grown into, not loving it, but taking care of it and appreciating it. But if I'm really asked the question, do I prefer a body or not body? I would not prefer a body, because I do feel like the pure consciousness. I could just as well be a tree or the sea or the omniverse or somewhere else on the other side of whatever, or just a tiny dot being the point of whatever. But when we were doing this tune-in, I could feel how, I did know that I for many years had been like a collective body, like the body of the conscious collective at the time, meaning taking a lot of shit and taking a lot of empathetic stuff into my system. And once I got aware of that, like some years back, and I got the knowledge to know how to deal with it, like neurological stuff and all that new stuff about. Then I started changing it, and I downloaded a new nervous system with a bunch of you guys some years back too, and started reversing what was happening in my body. And so I work a lot with it on a conscious level, but on a more, I think, technical level. I'm not like, yay, like you do, Dorothy. I love that. I just don't have that relationship yet, but I think I should go there somehow. I still see it as a framework that I'm working through, and I've committed myself to this family. I created this family and committed myself to working with these special beings here in the consciousness level and on earth too, and with you guys too. But it's like I'm just as connected with you in consciousness as in person, even more in consciousness maybe, actually. So there is, but I think I'm growing into learning how to stream that deliberately into the body. And we've been working a lot with the body in different ways. And mine improves too, definitely. And and the body is more vibrant and alive. And in a way, healthier than it has ever been. It's just not enough.
I've had all the experiences of being, feeling like I was a slave to my body, trying to turn it into some cultural icon of satisfaction, having it feel like a big burden that I had to lug around with me. Like I've had all those experiences in this lifetime so far. But this right now, this liberated, just joyful experience of being in this body and therefore being its caretaker. That's my favorite orientation so far. And I think that's the one that is my agreement with it. It's intelligent, and my agreement with it is that I am its caretaker. And I don't do anything with it that it wasn't designed for. That's the one that I feel like has freed me up to be as vibrant in the body as I am not with the body. My essence energy is right here in this and around it and shows up as it. And that it's certainly a relatively new thing. It's I don't know, maybe 15 years of that. Before that, I ran the gamut of slave driving it, being slave driven by it, all of that. Yeah, all of that.
Mine is sort of similar. My body is a point of flow. And that gives me a really interesting relationship because I do see myself, I don't use the term caretaker, but I would use the term, it is the vessel through which I get to enjoy life and thrive and in physical existence. And it's the point of power flow for me as well. So I treat it really well because it's the point of power flow. It's the crux of my ability to be the force in motion, I would say. So I do take care of it as best I can. But I also, one of our pieces of work in the last years altogether has been, how do you be as vast as the universe is and dwell through a body? And I think this year we're mastering some of that. You know, in whatever relationship we each make, however we perceive it, whatever version we apply to it, I think we're mastering that. So in terms of pure consciousness, I get that's interesting. And it depends on how you relate to pure consciousness and how you see it. Like for me, I now say I am the source of all life. Working with this world and this universe, that's my work. So if you ask me, am I working on the omniverse? Nope, that's not mine. That's Gina Diane. But there is inherent in the thing that I've chosen an ultra sense of vitality. So if I am the source of all life, therefore I have access to all the vitality that I want. Do you see what I mean? So Dorothy probably has a version of that. Now in pure consciousness, I don't know how you perceive pure consciousness. Pure consciousness could just be a kind of like floating space of infinite possibility and never evolving, morphing, becoming. So the vitality piece may not be integrated into the perception of it. Now, it may be different for you. I'm just describing it as I would see it. So it's how do we see what we are and add to it the pieces that give us the momentum, the power, the vitality, the creation, the force, and how do we add that to it and then find a way to stream it through our physicality in the way that works for us. Yes.
Soleira, how would you say this new is affecting your experience as that what you just described, the source of all life? Like, how's that different now with this force we're talking about?
I have about 10 times the vitality and creative ideas this month than I did 2 months ago. Like, it's just gone off the charts to the point that if I'm not like jumping up and down doing something like really exciting and new, I'm bored. I almost put a Facebook post on today, go, I'm bored. I thought, no, I better not do that. Because people would be like, well, yeah, but you do coaching and you're running 3 or 4 webinars and you're writing a book and what do you mean you're bored? That's how it's showing up for me at the moment. I am so like jumping up and down with excitement and creativity and newness and things that there isn't enough for me to do, actually, if you know what I mean.
Can I give you my list?
Yeah. I need to find an even more creative expression for it. So Dorothy and I were talking just before you guys came on the call, because we're planning to start a month-long series, and Dorothy said, and I agreed, the newness doesn't hold for make a choice and join this. The newness now wants to be, this is what we're doing, come along and play. And so we're going to change this, the Riding the Forest, to a 2-week event on Facebook that's open to anybody who wants to play. And we're going to do it that way. And if abundance wants to roll towards us because of what comes from that, great, but we're not attached to it. So that's our plan at the moment. So there you go. Because it is about living as the infinite self, practically. That's what riding the power of the force is. It's not some very woo-woo weirdy thing anymore. No, it's ideas and innovation and genius and excitement and vitality and creating and being a force of momentum and power and vitality in the world that changes everything. And it's landed now. And that's what we're about. So
maybe it's landed for you. Some of us are still content. I just want to go be in nature. Sophia just wants to color.
But that is it. That is it for you. That is it. That's your way of what I'm describing. Do you see what I mean? That is your grandest big work, fulfilling itself. The more Sophia colors those the beautiful stories and
that's amazing.
It's like you can tell you're fulfilling the new dream world. I can tell. It's just like it's coming alive as you play with it, and it's full of color. It's like I said the other day on our call. I went out the other day and bought glitter paints, and I am not an artist. I've never painted or drawn anything in my life. I'm terrible at it. But I am going to master glitter painting with glitter and glue. because that's another way for me to bring this reality into play. I'm going to make glitter dragons, I think.
It is pretty amazing that you're doing that with the paint. You're doing the coloring. That's so gorgeous. And I just am dipping into the world of art journaling that I've never done before. And I'm playing with the glue and the paint and the gesso and the stamps and the ink and all that messy stuff that I've never done before.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, I had to vacuum glitter off the floor 2 days later. It went everywhere. So despite my careful effort, I was tempted to leave it because it looks kind of nice, but at the same time, no, I don't think so. I'll be tracking it every move. So, but that is the new reality. It sparkles. If I owned my own house, I would put glue all over the walls and just drop glitter paint on everything. I know that's pretty weird, but for me, that would really work. It would really, really work. I'm needing to fill my eyes with a reality that is so full of magical color and awesomeness. And Britt, you get that in nature. I get it. But I'm not a hiking kind of gal in the cold, so I gotta get it.
Well, that's why I post my pictures for you. Otherwise, you see my world is kind of tan and black.
Exactly. So, we're all finding the manifestation of that in our bodies, in our homes, in our businesses, in the way we do new things. So, don't even get me started on new things. We need to stop. Don't we? It's been an hour. Well, that was just awesome, really fun. So, anything you guys want to throw in before we wrap her up?
Just want to say that I feel the relationship with the Force even much more now than when I got on the call. So it's been really, really cool listening to you guys and being amped by that. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. And thanks for joining us, including Kelly and Julie, who had to leave earlier. So fantastic. It's been wonderful. So I'm going to post the video up in different places on Facebook, just so others can come join Dorothy and I in the event.
Great.
It'll be fun. Okay, love you lot.
Bye.
See you. Thank you.
Lots of love. Bye.